that. I'm trying to break the ice.
There's no ice.
It's no ice, right? It's like it's just us,
It's
right?
just us. We do this every
I don't want to.
day.
Well, we do this every day. I just don't know if if I just start with like a hi everybody, welcome to the podcast, and this is Josie. Like, it just seems way
Hi,
too formal. It's like
Jamar. I know.
it's my girl
So
Josie
nice
right
to
there.
meet you. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice to meet you too. It's been cool. So, how you doing today? You good?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm like self-conscious because I didn't bring my makeup with me and we're on video. But you know what? Sometimes it's good just to not wear makeup.
I guess you know what for somebody who doesn't really notice those things, I often wonder when women in particular say that, like, what are they actually citing that they're self-conscious of? Because like you just look like you today.
Me, like I
This is
look like
you.
I look normally. I have, well, you want me to tell you the truth?
If you really want to go, you don't have to say it, but if you want to, go ahead.
Well,
But I'm
look,
just letting you know, honestly, I just see Josie.
okay, so I'm super blonde, right? So look at I have
Yeah.
no eyelashes right now. Like you can't actually see my eyelashes because they're so blonde. Also, I'd like to make my skin look like like lack of blemishes. I've got a few blemishes and
Okay.
maybe just open the eyes up a bit more. But other than that, I'm okay. It's just you, Jamar. Just you and I. It's just
Yeah,
you
I
and I.
mean, yeah. Well, just for the record, even if you had eyelashes on, I couldn't see them anywhere because
I
they're
know.
like on a monitor. So
Well, there you go.
it's like
Okay.
they what it is. And I don't see any blemishes because the resolution on my monitor is just
Oh,
like
it's
a little
shitty.
weird right
Oh,
now.
that's perfect.
Every Everything's great.
It's like
You're
when
fine. You're
someone says,
Josie.
it's like when someone says, "Oh yeah, I listened to you in the car, but my radio is just like really crackly, so I didn't really hear you clear." I'm like, "Perfect."
That's always reassuring to
Yeah,
hear,
I
right?
know. I know.
Well, for those who don't know, this is Josie Dye. She's actually my co-host on the radio show that we do together on Chum 1045 every day from 3 to 6. And that has just begun, really. Like, we've just gotten started at that.
Yeah, when we have so much in store, it's going to be really fun. Someone said to me this past weekend, they said, "Wow, the chemistry between the two of you is off the charts." So I was like, "Yeah, okay,
Really?
cool."
I,
That's it.
I wonder, I mean, listen, I feel it too,
Hmm.
that, you and I just have a vibe
Yeah,
naturally.
yeah, I do too.
But what do you think people, because I think that's the biggest comment I get about our show, as new as it is. Everyone's
Yeah.
like, man, you guys have chemistry. What do you think they're hearing when they say that?
I think people, it's funny, everyone's like, what is the secret sauce of radio? Like, what is it? And everyone tries so hard to make, okay, you've got to have someone who's really funny. Then you've got a host who has to be able to get in and out really well. Then you have to have a third
Mm.
mic who's goofy. Like, everyone has the formula they think it is, when really it's two people who really enjoy each other's company, having fun. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it is.
I don't want to give away my secret sauce. Maybe people already know, but I don't want to try.
Mm.
Like, I don't want to try. Like, I just want it to be like, I just want to, if you could roll me in there in a wheelbarrow, like, and me not have to walk in, like, I just want to be as effortless. And I say that not in a lazy way, but it's like, it's got to feel like you're just chilling. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't like
Exactly.
chilling with people who feel like they're doing too much. That
Yes.
makes me, that's my ick. Like, when I'm around people and it feels like they're like doing the most, I'm just like, hey guys, I'll see you later. I'm out of here.
Well, it's interesting because I heard a lot of radio up north, small town radio, and I
Yeah.
was listening, and I wanted to reach through the radio and say to the girl that was on this past weekend, get rid of your script. Like you have a script. I can tell you have a script. I don't know if we can swear on this podcast. Can we swear on this?
Yeah, you can say whatever you
Okay,
want. It's
I
all
was
good.
just like, fuck it. Just get rid of all of it and just talk to me. Just talk to me. That's all I want. I want someone to talk to. And I think that's how people feel in our city. It's, obviously right now in Toronto where we're both broadcasting, there's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of people stuck there. They want to feel like there's a best friend with them in the car. That's it. That's all it
Yeah.
is.
I think where we come together, you and I, is our fuck it vibes. We're just like, like we have that vibe a little bit sometimes.
We do.
Where you are a little, you definitely care about things,
Mhm.
like you kind of get antsy about stuff. But I think at your base, you're just like,
I show up to your podcast, no makeup. Oh, care a bit,
Like-
but I'm like, ah.
But
Sorry, Jamar.
realistically, it's kind of like you're just showing up to my crib and you just ring the doorbell and you're like, hey, I'm here. I'm like, hey, come on in. And it's like, whatever, right?
Exactly.
That's the vibe. So
Yeah.
I feel like if we're having a radio conversation, and for those who may be just entering to the radio field or trying to figure out how they get to the next level, if I may offer advice, I just feel like you gotta get that thing off, like that presentation-y kind of like, hi, I'm here to entertain you thing. Get rid of that, because you don't talk to your friends like that.
Exactly.
You don't talk to your moms like that. You don't talk to your people like that. Like, why are you talking to your fans like that?
And I think in the rock world, we've always had a bit of that. And some people assume it's the lazy, or it's the, I don't care, too cool for school. And I think pop has always been, I mean, I'm generalizing, but it's always been very polished, right? But in 2024, I don't think people want polished anymore. They just want to hang out with someone. They want to see
polish is
plot.
not cool, yo.
No,
Polish is not cool. I mean, there's a time and place for polish, like red carpet at like
absolutely
the Met Gala or something like that. That's where you're polished and stuff, and presenting. But I think what we do in terms of being a medium where you just want to have companionship, the polish. The more you can get away from the polish, the better of a connection you have.
I completely agree. 100%. So, yeah.
Wow, we just solved the radio problem.
We're done. We figured it all out.
Yo, so you know what's funny to me about you two? Like, and admittedly, our relationship, we have a good relationship over a couple of years now, but there's, a whole origin before I've even met you that I'm not privy to and I'm learning. You have deep roots in rock and roll.
Yeah.
Deep roots in rock in Toronto. And I'll tell you some stuff that I've been saving for this conversation. I've gone to more places, and all of a sudden I'm now discovering, because I know you, but I don't know you, and now I'm knowing you through other people. And I'm being told all this stuff, and I'm just like, oh, I didn't know who I was working with, to be honest with you. Like people are telling me, like, yeah, Josie had a show when I was in high school. I'm like, what? Like,
Thank you for that. I think that's the first thing you start with. Thank you.
No, it's just like I'm starting to understand, like, people associate rock with you in this city. Like, you are literally one of the few names of the rock identity of Toronto. Is that out of turn? I mean,
I don't think so. And a lot has to do with the fact that, there are only a few rock radio stations ever in any city, right? It's kind of, and also for females, and this has completely changed as time has gone on, but it's always like, we always felt like we were playing musical chairs, and there was only that one chair for the female rock jock in a group of, let's say 12, right? So there wasn't a lot of room for a lot of females in the rock world. And because of that, I got in there and no one was fucking taking me out, right? So
this is your version of the black guy.
Yeah, okay.
Because
right?
That's what it is.
Exactly.
Because in different radio stations or radio situations, like, once you're the black guy, you're the only one, and like, that's it. And then that's really, you kind of like, I understand.
That's exactly for the female in specifically rock. I got in there and I dealt with a lot of shit. Like, there was a lot of shit, but I was like, no one's taking this spot from me. And listen, like, I think because of that, and I don't want to say pigeonholed because I love rock, but once I was there, I honestly felt like no other station would ever hire me because I was the rock girl. Right, like, that was it. I was known for being the alternative rock girl, and all over Toronto, and I mean Canada. I had a national show as well, a rock radio show where I was able to do some really creative things. I got musicians to host my countdowns. So and because it was a national Canadian show and there was nothing like that, one day I'd have Dave Grohl hosting. The next day I'd have the Red Hot Chili Peppers hosting. The next day, the Pixies. I got the biggest artists to host this countdown that went across Canada. And and I pretty much, because also rock music, the format is a lot of interviews, pretty much interviewed every single rock musician you could think of, almost all of them. So yeah, that's pretty nuts. That's pretty nuts. So if I just started rattling off some names of famous rock acts, you've probably brushed shoulders with, like, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yes. Yeah.
Stone Temple Pilots.
Yes. I ate Scott's sandwich after he ate it. He left it in the studio. I was interviewing. This sounds creepy.
Wow.
This sounds really creepy. And then he left, and I was like, I'm going to take a bite of that because that's a really creepy story. But yes, I did.
I'm going to throw out a couple more names just to give me any experiences with them. Smashing Pumpkins.
I interviewed Billy. Billy was one of the worst interviews I've ever done. He was cold.
What was so bad about it?
He just doesn't want to do anything. Someone asked him for an autograph and he said no. He was cold and to the point and calculated, and I felt like he did not want to be there.
Do you think that was his real vibe, or he was just playing up like a like a person?
I think that's his real vibe. I think that's how everyone is when they interview him. I think he's a great musician and a great composer and a great creator, but I don't know if he's a great person. That's just me. People are going to hate me for saying that, but yeah.
No, it's your truth. It's all good. Meatloaf?
No, I've never actually. There's a weird one. I saw his show in Toronto. He had a show. You remember that? I think you were in Toronto then. It was a Bell.
No, I wasn't in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. That was actually right before I maybe I got here right after that ended.
Okay.
Okay. Bad Out of Hell.
Bad Out of Hell. So, but I never interviewed Meatloaf. No.
Okay. I'm drawing blanks on names, so just give me a couple more names. Like,
oh my gosh. Okay, so Pearl Jam. I was able to interview
Pearl Jam. How could I forget?
Yeah. U2.
Damn.
I had.
Wait, tell us a U2 story.
U2. So there was I have a really good U2 story, but I don't know if I'm allowed to tell this.
You're allowed to do whatever the hell you want, my sis. Like, do what you do.
Well, no, I won't tell that one because that's a little bit R-rated. But I will tell.
Wow! Can we stop? Can we put a pin in that for a second? You have an R-rated YouTube story.
I do, but it doesn't. We're not going to hear. But it's nothing to do with me. I wasn't involved, but the people who are in my radio station were involved. So that's why. I'm not telling the story. This will go viral. You'll be no. I'm not telling the story. I will say that.
Can you just tell me, is it Edge or Bono? Like, who is it?
Bono.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it could be false. That's why I'm like, was it true? Was it not true? It had to do with Jamar.
Shrooms?
What am I saying? It had to do with, the rumor is, it had to do with him having sex with more than one Canadian woman in Toronto. That's what it has to do with. Wow. Yeah. Okay. We'll just leave it at that. But it could be wrong. So anyway.
Maybe it's just a rumor, right? Who knows?
Just a rumor. It's just a rumor. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure you've got a Nickelback story or two, right?
Yeah, I interviewed Nickelback once, actually. Not a lot, because we didn't really play him at the alternative stations. I mean, we played him in rock at the beginning, and then it kind of became this badge of honor to not play Nickelback, which was so very Canadian of us, right? It's like,
that thing has confused me since the moment I got here. I did not know, and admittedly, I'm not really deeply entrenched in rock and roll, but like, I didn't understand how hated or how divisive Nickelback was, because I actually just loved them because at the time I was on pop radio and all their songs were going pop. So it was like, hey, this band Nickelback, we play their songs, they sound good, boom, whatever. And I get here and everyone's like, yo, screw Nickelback. I was like, what?
Yeah. Here in Canada, we often eat our own. It's been something that we've always done. And when people have success across the border, then all of a sudden we turn on them. Yet all the artists that are just successful in Canada, we like. I don't know why we do it. It's small town mentality. We've always been kind of like have this ego because we're so insecure as a country. I think that's our problem.
And that insecurity thing becomes like proximity to like the United States.
Absolutely. Nickelback goes and is hugely successful in Middle America. And then Canada's like, they're not our band.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's absolutely crazy. It's not my vibe at all. Like I just like shit that just feels and sounds good. Like, and I don't really try to understand. Like if it's good, it's good, right?
Well, that's why I like you. Because really, that you gotta just like what you like and not give a fuck about what other people think and care about. And
100%.
and that is
The other stuff
also
is too complicated.
it's too complicated. That is also a rock problem, an indie problem, where it's like all the music. There's a culture that goes along with it, where it's like you can like certain things, you can't like other things. You have to wear this, not wear that. Talk like this, talk like that. I mean, I'm a blonde hair, blue eyed girl from a suburb that is cool in rock world, but I also dyed my hair. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things that come along with that. I remember going on the radio like the first week and making fun of Marilyn Manson, and I got eaten alive for it. Like I really, really did. People hated me.
What was your joke about Marilyn Manson?
Oh, I was actually, I don't remember the specifics. It was probably something super stupid that I said and people hated me for it. And they used to call, like at the beginning of my career, they'd be like, oh, suburbia girls making fun of Marilyn Manson. It's funny because then my husband went on to have him on his label. So I actually got in close contact with Marilyn Manson as years went on. Now, not so much anymore. Joel and him have separated their ways, but yeah, like there's a culture associated with rock that you have to be a specific way, and it was challenging at sometimes, at a certain point.
Oh, by the way, shout out your husband's label.
Dynalone Records, yeah, Dynalone Records is for many years here in Canada has been one of the biggest independent record labels in Canada, with so many artists on his label that of all genres. Like he's one of those guys, and part of the reason I married him is that he's also doesn't pigeonhole himself into one thing. Like he loves death metal and he loves pop music and reggae and jazz, and he's just one of those guys that really truly just loves what he loves because he loves it.
I can't wait to kick it with Joel one day, because I feel like he and I musically would really vibe.
Mm-hmm,
from everything you've told me about
100%. 100%.
Do you have a relationship with Marilyn Manson, like person, like
no,
talking?
He does.
No,
he does. But
he does.
Yeah.
Do you think Marilyn Manson was aware of all the rumors and all the all those like things that were going on around about, like being Paul Pfeiffer from Wonder Years and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, at the beginning I think he enjoyed all of those, right? All those rumors, but then it got bad. I mean, you now it's sexual assault, it's rape,
that part got really
got
crazy.
really bad, really bad. But at the beginning, I think he enjoyed all of those rumors about him.
Did he really remove a rib so he could reach?
Right? I thought that was Michael Jackson. All of them haven't they?
I thought that was Marilyn Manson.
Paul Abdul as well. I don't know.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, maybe not for that purpose for the other two, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay. When you talk about your like kind of place in rock and roll, is there a specific genre or kind of like wave of rock that is like yours? Is it like the 90s stuff, grunge, like punk? Like what's your...
Like what do I love?
Yeah.
I mean, I started out before I worked in radio as a grunge girl. I started out because I was born in that era. So, loving Kurt Cobain and loving Pearl Jam and STP and all of those bands. But then once I got into radio, I distanced myself only probably because I had to talk about it so much, right? And it was just something that I always listened to. Now I consider myself, I mean, I'm pretty eclectic when it comes to what I love. I was just listening to Stars in the Car, which is a Canadian band that are, if you haven't heard them, Jamar, you have to listen to Stars. You would love Stars.
They're called Stars?
Yeah, they're called Stars. The way their pieces are crafted, they're so beautiful with such great crescendos. And I want, like, if I had a family band, like if my mom and dad and my sister and my nieces could get together at Christmas time and do a performance, it would be a Star song. That's what it would be. Oh, I also loved Arcade Fire for a long time. And then, things happened with them, and I kind of got tired of some of their songs as well. But I definitely have like the indie vibe that I really love.
Okay, so you're more of an indie band type of deal. So, the talk in my circles in music is that rock and roll is dead. They say that, which is, you've heard that, right?
Of course I've heard that. Yeah.
Is there truth to that, or is that bullshit?
It's bullshit, and it never will be dead. I've heard this so many times, and it's because, but all you have to do is like, for instance, go to my husband's festival this weekend and look at the thousands of people that are there to know that
Big up the festival. What festival is it?
it's called Born and Raised. It's happening this
Okay.
weekend, but it doesn't even matter. Like anywhere you go, rock artists are selling out. They're selling out stadiums still. So I mean, rock is not dead. Rock will never be dead. As long as you have things to talk about, as long as there's passions and there's protest and there's beliefs, and rock will never be dead. So no, it's there. It exists. Not only does it exist in Canada right now in Vancouver, they are adding their third rock station to Vancouver Market, which is something
Okay.
that didn't even happen when I was growing up in the, when I was on the air in the early 2000s. That didn't even happen. So yeah, it's not dead.
Yeah, because all right, I think when people say rock is dead, it's because in the pop world there isn't an identifiable band that is kind of like the head of the rock movement. Like, and if you identify one, if I say something like One Direction, people are like, oh, they're not rock. Or if I say something like, I can't even name the band, like Imagine Dragons, there's a debate whether they're rock or not. So I feel like the rock is dead people are saying that because there isn't a leader of rock to people outside of the genre. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely it does. And it's funny because I'm not in there right now. I'm not in the rock world, but you're right. There's a lot of middle level bands. Like if you think Vampire Weekend, M83,
Yeah.
if you think about all those artists out there, there's not like a U2 that's leading the way, right? There's not enough headliners. Although you could just say Glastonbury just happened and Coldplay headlined Sunday. So there's your rock artist. If you have three artists, you've got Dua Lipa, SZA, and Coldplay. There's your rock. You've
So
got
if you say Coldplay is a rock band, I feel like someone will tell you, what the hell are you like I feel like someone will be like, that's not hard enough to be called rock. When I feel like Coldplay arguably is rock.
which like at this day and age, it's so interesting that we're classifying things in certain ways. You're right. You're right. Like Coldplay's got so many slow songs, yet they create their own music. They write their own music. They play their own instruments. They're considered in my mind a rock band. But what
Right.
distinguishes them? I mean, we played Coldplay at the stations that I was at. I remember Yellow coming out when I was, I don't know how old, 20 years old. And that was the
Hmm.
number one song in alternative radio. So what is rock and what isn't rock? I mean, Self-Formatics at this time, it doesn't even, I can't even classify it into a specific genre. There are some artists that it's super easy, but at the same time, you look at the station I came from, which is called Indie 88, and they were recently playing Harry Styles. So, right?
Right. And I mean, Harry Styles isn't going to play on a hip hop station, so he's not that. We can pretty much say what things aren't, but I
Mhm.
think sometimes it's hard to say
What
with
things
rock
are.
what they are, because Harry Styles, I mean, is it the amount of distortion that's on the guitar that makes it rock? Like what makes it like what is it that makes it definitively rock?
And I don't think there is anything. I just think it's a feeling. And I think program directors are what put them in specific categories. But I don't think there is much that says this is this is that. Crossovers are
Mm.
what makes a band successful. That's what. So if you can make an artist cross all genres, if you can make an artist go from pop to hip hop to rock to play all of them, that's what makes you successful. That's what
A
makes
hundred
you the
percent. I mean,
biggest of the big.
that's kind of like an Aerosmith joining up with Run DMC, and then all of a sudden they're larger than
Exactly.
life, both of them, right? And then it's like, oh wow,
Exactly.
they've brought like so many different audiences together authentically to make the thing bigger than it was.
A hundred
You know what I'm
percent.
saying?
Or even Eminem that crossed over to the rock world at the beginning and then the hip hop world, right? It's the crossover artists
Mm-hmm.
that make them the biggest. But who's
Yeah.
putting them in those categories? I mean, management, program directors. Yeah, it's hard. If K Rock in
I
LA
know.
plays a song, then all of a sudden it's a rock song.
Do you have like a couple favorite rock radio stations that you're like, yo, that's my station, or that's a station I loved? I mean, obviously Indie 88, right?
Yeah, I went to indie because I loved how they programmed. I felt like they were programming in a way like to suit me. I looked at K-Rock in LA all the time as kind of the barometer, as that's the place where a lot of the music, it comes, it comes out of Los Angeles. There's also in like San Francisco, a few in near, like for the grunge era and for the grunge artists, excuse me, or like Seattle. But no, for Canada, Edge was the Edge, which is where I started, was the biggest station, and they considered it, when I was working there, it was the second biggest rock station in North America. So it was pretty huge.
Have you ever heard, you've heard of DC 101, right?
I have.
In Washington DC?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
where Howard Stern was for a while. Elliot in the morning, he was the morning show there for a while. They were huge, man. They had like this event called Kegs and Eggs. It was big ass festival in DC. Then there was another station that's now defunct. It was called HFS. They had a festival called the HF Festival.
Okay.
Sick.
Well, we used to have.
I mean,
we used to have Edge Fest, and Edge Fest was our festival, and it was at Molson Park and Barrie, and it would be thousands and thousands. I'm not talking Coachella. I'm not talking Glastonbury, but for us, it was thousands of people, and we had headliners like STP, Green Day, Pearl Jam. It was crazy.
It's crazy because I'm identifiably like a hip hop, reggae, dancehall, R&B guy, but I also have real deep love for all these rock bands we're talking about, like STP. Yeah, I used to listen to STP on repeat. Like sit there, like back in the MTV days, like when all those unplugged things were happening, and like STP was just like mind blowing to me because they were just so good. Their sound was so unique. The writing was incredible. It was just one of the dopest bands, in my opinion. Stone Temple Pilots, Green Day, another one.
Yeah, I was so in love with Scott.
Were
that
you?
was my guy.
I was like, wait.
I was like red-haired Scott. Red-haired Scott was my Scott. I was so in love with him. It was unbelievable. So I feel you. And I used to listen to their albums all the time, over and over again. Green Day. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I'm going to show you my rock Rolodex, if you will. But some of these bands are probably controversial because rock people would say they're not real rock. Like, for example, I had a Fish moment. I had a Fish moment where I was like going to the festivals and like tripping balls.
What's it called? Is there a name? Is there a name for people who like Fish fans?
Wait, I guess Fish heads or something. I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
I don't really know if they had a name.
Goes into that too. I am not.
Is he really?
Yes.
Yeah, jam bands. I had a jam band whole phase of my life.
So you would be Dave Matthews Band, right?
Oh, look.
Yeah.
Dave Matthews. That's a Dave Matthews sticker on my guitar right there.
Yeah.
Dave Matthews is like part of my origin story in just music. Like when I discovered Dave Matthews Band, I was like, whoa.
Right.
I really, anyone who knows me from high school knows like I was Mr. Dave Matthews Band at the time.
Okay. So
I was also like Mr. Hip Hop.
I had a Dave Matthews era. Like it was small, but I remember, and I went to a few shows that they had at Molson Amphitheater as well. And I can understand it. Like musically, how brilliant are they? Like incredibly brilliant. Absolutely.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, like one of the greatest bands. I mean, so that stuff was all good to me. G Love and Special Sauce, you remember those dudes?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, Philly's own. And they were kind of like, I had a hip hop vibe too. That's why I liked them. They were like hip hop and rock at the same time. So, hey, listen, you're my girl. We've got years and years to veg out and catch up.
Are we going to change Chum to our rock station, Jamar?
No, and I'm glad you said that. Okay. I'm glad you said that because I do want to end with this. Okay. You're always trying to go, is this too rock for Chum? Let me tell you, pop is it's an abbreviation for popular.
I know.
Pop. I want people to stop thinking that pop is just boy band shit. It's not that. It's a big part of it. But pop is the amalgamation of everything that's going on in the culture that rises to the level of now everyone loves it. That could be rock. At the moment, it's country music. Who saw that coming?
I know. Right? I know. And you know what? For me, I like that. I'm not used to. I did a country music television oh my God, I did a country music television show,
I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, I did it. And I did it for a couple of years. And I knew nothing about the artist, but I had to learn very, very quickly. And I learned and then I forgot. And now, now being at Pop Station, it's like a little taste of something, a little taste of
Of that,
of
what you
that
used to do.
world also of something different sounding, right? Something
Yeah,
that
yeah.
actually for me it's kind of a long if I actually consider country and rock more similar than pop and country.
I could see that.
So
I could
it's
see that.
interesting to have these like random songs come into our playlist.
But I just wish for everyone who's a music consumer and a music person to know that when you talk about pop, it really is everything. It's hip hop, it's trap, it's reggae, it's dancehall, it's a little soca, it's rock, it's jazz, it's what I mean. Right? I mean, what's that dude's name? Teddy Swims is a soul
Hmm.
artist. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
He's singing. He's singing like he's from Motown or something. Like
What a voice.
pop, right?
Mhm.
So pop is everything, and you, my friend, are right at home with us at Chum
Thank
because you bring the rock perspective, which is very, very necessary, needed, and appropriate.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you for
Yeah.
having me
So
here, Jamar. This has been
yeah, no doubt.
fun.
Yeah, just want to get to know you and kind of reminisce and look forward. So thanks,
Thank you.
thanks for chilling.
Yeah.
All right, I'll see you later. I'll see you in a couple minutes.
No, you won't. I'm not on there. I'm not on there today.
I
You're
know,
fired.
I know, I
Okay,
know.
good.
I'm on to that. I
Okay.
know.
Just making sure.
Right.
Oh my God.